Answer some questions today. At least that's the goal on Coffee Talk. So, we've got some questions that we asked folks maybe a little bit, I think for a couple days ago. So we got a list, and if you have any other questions, feel free, comment, let us know, and we'll answer them. All right, let's get Mike in here for Coffee Talk. See how we're doing. Hey there, Mike.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, all right, good. I was a little worried there. Loud and clear.
All right, cool, good. What do you got going on? It looks like a whiteboard behind you or something.
I feel like we're answering questions, and I might have to write something down. But then I realized, is everything backwards?
Yeah, I think so. I think it gets mirrored
So
with the camera.
is that, that's not how we spell your name, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so we might have a small issue. But anyway, we might not need it. Anyway,
All right,
I feel like
cool.
standing in front of a whiteboard today.
Well,
something
hey,
different.
you're in teacher mode. That's cool.
I'm in teacher mode.
Do you at least have a coffee?
I've got the tail end of a very big nitro that I needed today.
Oh, all right, good deal.
How about you? How about you?
Get you going. I got a little coffee in here. Just hit the old Keurig. Look, it was done in time this week, so I can actually drink it.
Awesome.
Which I like. Yeah. So we did get a couple questions, and
I saw that. I have them written backwards in order here.
Nice. And anybody who tunes in is more than welcome to throw a question into the comments, and we'll try to get to it. Don't know if we'll cover all these questions, but we'll do our best.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So, I wrote down the list in, I think, the same order you did. I can't really tell, but we'll figure it out. So
you can't read backwards?
I have a tough time. Maybe I wonder if I hold up a mirror to the camera.
Yeah, no, just turn around. Just turn around and read it. You'll be fine.
If I go, all right, yeah.
Really good.
So I think the first one is the top of foot pain that some folks have asked. I actually got, I think, 2 questions about that. So I know I've experienced that top of foot pain occasionally when I get a shoe that is a little too shallow for my foot. Like I have a pretty high instep, so if I get a shoe that doesn't have enough depth to it, then I'll tighten it up and I'll get some pressure on the top of the foot, and that can cause a little bit of pain on the top of the foot. And we do have a kind of a solution for that if there is that issue. If that's the issue and the shoe is too shallow for your foot, you just kind of you cross over shoelaces.
Yeah.
When you look down, your shoelaces are crossed over. If you can, where that pressure is, just skip it, right? So don't cross over on that particular part of the foot. Just make a little window where that pressure is.
So loop it up the side in the next hole, right?
Yeah, so loop it up the side, skip that, don't cross over on that part where that pressure is, and that can help alleviate some of that top of foot pain. But you might have some other kind of tips as to what that could be, or any way that folks could deal with it. So what do you think?
Yeah. So at its simplest, that is definitely a good trick, because a lot of people come in and it is a compression of the tissue on there. So you have your toe extensor tendons, the ones that lift your toes up and help dorsiflex the foot, that run right on that spot. So if you have a high arch or high instep, or you have a really thick, Fred Flintstone type of foot, then there's not enough room in the sneaker. And if you tend to really lace it up really tight, then you can just irritate the soft tissue and sometimes even irritate the tendon as it's kind of sliding underneath the tightness of the laces. So we make the same recommendation, try to avoid that area of where the pain is and lace it around above and below. And a lot of times with that, it's just a soft tissue thing. You can get a tendonitis in those same tendons, not caused by the shoe, but just possibly if your toes which help dorsiflex the ankle. It's dorsiflexing is bringing like the top of your foot towards your shin. If they're working extra hard because your calf is so tight, then you can get an overuse type of work on those tendons. So it's another way that the tendons can get irritated. So it's kind of a weird thing, but we'd end up treating the opposite side of the leg by loosening up your calf and your Achilles, which will free up the work in the front side. Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah, totally. So I always find that tends to be when we talk about like injuries and stuff, it seems to be like, oh, I have a pain here. Well, let's look at the opposite side of where that thing is.
Right.
We'll fix that.
Yeah. We don't care where your pain is. We just want to treat something else.
Right. Exactly.
No, but no, it's very true because where the site of your pain is not where the site of your problem is all the time, especially with running injuries. Sometimes it could be. But for something like that, sometimes it's just an overwork thing because of that tension in the back. So we address the backside. The next stage of what possibly could be there is I've seen stress fractures in the bones, the tarsal bones and metatarsals in that part of the foot. So if it's a pain, I'm not sure who asked, but if it's a pain that is not getting better, they tried the lacing, maybe even gotten some soft tissue work done or gotten it assessed, and it's just not getting better, and that pain comes on around the same time of every run, or it's starting to get worse and you're limping around with walking, then probably an x-ray or some diagnostic testing may be needed to rule out stress injury to the bone.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so I think the next question I had was about socks. So it was a little bit kind of specific. So the question was actually like, I have good comfy running socks, but sometimes when I wear them, I get a pain on my foot. And so my thought was it probably has something to do with the same issue, like the compression thing. Some of these socks that are running socks are really tight. And so it could just be, that sock might have a little bit too much compression, and maybe to look into a sock that maybe isn't so tight through the arch area. With running socks in general, a good running sock, you want to make sure it doesn't have any seams. You want to make sure it's polyester or wool-based blend, just to move moisture. Usually running socks are like a lower cut type of sock. So if you can, make sure you get one with a little tab so it doesn't slide down into your shoe. We've all been there for sure. Yeah, and so like our number one selling sock kind of checks all of those boxes. It's the Belega Hidden Comfort. So if you're just like a runner, you're like, I need a comfortable running sock, Belega Hidden Comfort, whatever color you want, get that one. You'll be happy, guaranteed. And they didn't even pay me to say that.
Well, they should, because I think you turned me on to those socks years ago, and they are the most comfortable socks. And I can never wear them because my family just takes them out of the dryer and they wear them. So I got to go get some more for the family.
There you go. Got to load up. So hopefully that answers sock questions.
So from my perspective, we don't see sock injuries. The only thing we've ever seen is when the old school socks had seams, or the not athletic socks, they might get some skin irritation. But I was hoping you were going to answer that one because I didn't have much to add to that.
Yeah, well, I hope I answered it. We'll see. I'll probably get some other questions about socks. But anyway, let's move on. Next, what's the next one on your list? Because I can't see it. You're a little fuzzy at the moment, but we'll see.
Am I fuzzy? Oh, shoot. Am I fuzzy right now?
You're fuzzy. You're very, like, I can see you moving, and I can hear you. It's a little fuzzy, and it's backwards, so I can't read it anyway.
All right. I have my acronym, my initials here, RTR, which basically means return to running. There's a couple of questions about how do you return to running, like after some time off, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have any perspective from your end off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, if you're someone who's been out of running for like a really long time, what I would suggest is start with like a run walk program. So like maybe it's been years since you've been out there running, and you might feel like, if you're like me, you think like you're 25 again and you can do it. Mentally, you think I can go run 5 miles, no problem. I used to do this all the time, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. You'll probably get hurt or you'll get discouraged. a run walk program. You know, start with like 10 minutes total, 1 minute run, 1 minute walk for 10 minutes. Get that confidence, build some strength, and just get comfortable running again. You know?
Yeah. Yeah,
and if you
absolutely.
If you need a little bit more guidance, there's plenty of like Couch to 5K apps. We have like a beginning runner group program. If you need some like support, I think that running and walking combo is a good way to kind of build some strength back and get some confidence going. Because I did have one question that was specific about like, if I am getting back into running, how do I make sure I'm strong enough? And I think walking is a great way to kind of get you prepared for running. And maybe you can build on that with some other things to help folks get strong enough to get back into running.
Yeah, I got things on that, and I'll try to make it quick because obviously this is a pretty popular topic in my world. So yes, a walk-run program is ideal, especially for people who aren't really coming off an injury. They're just getting into running, right? And we have I think it's a 7-step return to run. There's all different versions, but it's a combination of walking a lot and running very little. And then as you progress through the weeks, you end up walking very little and running a lot. And it's just a gradual progression. So that's one topic. Coming off some time off, like from an injury or a vacation, there's a thing called the acute chronic load ratio. And the reason I brought the whiteboard is I'm going to write it down, but it's going to be backwards. So if anyone wants to really read this, flip it in the mirror. I don't know what you got to do, but I can't believe technology, we can't do this the right way. But basically what you're going to do, so let's say right now, Eric, you're trying to plan for next week's run. We want to figure out what your mileage is going to be, right? So you would take, let's say you want to do 40 miles, right? So you take that and then you divide it by the previous 4-week average. Okay. And I know that's all backwards. Okay. So let's say you did a 45-mile week, then you did a 50-mile week, then you did a 55-mile week, but then you got sick and you took a whole week off. Right. Okay. So you have, I did a little cheat sheet here. Yeah. So if you have 45, then 50, then 55, then 0, that average is 37.5. Okay. So if you want to run, let's change this to 50 miles. Let's say you just said, hey, I was up to 55 miles 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to just shave off 5 miles and we'll be good. So I'm going to plan on running 50 miles next week. If you divide 50 by this number, 37.5, which is your average, if you're at 1.2, that ratio, if it's at 1.2 or less, the research tells you that's a pretty safe mileage for you to run. In this example here, if you want to run 50 and your average was 37.5, your ratio would be 1.35, which the research says will increase your risk of injury. When you get up to when you get up to a 1.6, now you've almost doubled your chances of getting hurt. Whether you're coming off an injury or whether it was vacation or travels, whatever it was that took you off, you have to consider that time off. What most people don't do is consider that week off. They'll just go back to those previous mileage. Oh yeah, I was running, I was averaging almost 50 plus miles, so I'm just going to go back to do that. And that's when we see a lot of people get hurt. They'll come in and they'll sit down and say, I was doing great. Then I had to go travel for a family funeral in California, and I was gone for 2 weeks and couldn't really run. Came back, tried to pick up on my mileage, and then boom, injury happens. Hurt.
Bam.
Boom. Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's called the acute chronic load ratio. And
chronic load ratio.
Yeah, if you look it up, there's a bunch of people have it. Myself, this was originally done on Australian football players. And then a lot of us, especially in the running world, have taken it and used it and just turned it into like a running formula. But if at the most basic sense, like when we talk about progression, I think we might have talked about it before, the 10% rule. So 10% would be a 1.0, right? The research is saying 1.2 or less and you're safe. So that's a 12% rule. So it goes back to, back to keep it simple, man. Keep it simple, stupid. And go, if you're progressing, do the 10% rule. But people who have that week off, do this formula, put in what you think you want your mileage to be, and as long as it's 1.2 or less, you're good to go. So I hope that helps some of the questions that were out there.
Math, man. You can do so many things with math.
I had cheat sheets right over here because I couldn't do the math in my head. But as soon as you know the formula, it's easy.
Right. They got calculators. You could use a calculator.
They do have calculators. Yeah. I've used them a couple times. But also, too, on that return to run, if anyone has a specific, if they can't find a good one, just shoot me an email or shoot me a message through Instagram or whatever. I will be more than happy to share the one that we use, and I'll just get it out to you. Quick little PDF.
All right. Cool, man. You know what's funny? I mentioned Belega socks. You see these socks right here? Those are feature socks. I probably should have,
Oh.
These are good ones as well.
Those are good. With two E's, right? Feature.
Yes.
Feature.
All right, next one. Back of heel issues is what I have on my list.
Yeah.
Back of heel issues. So sometimes back of heel issues, that's kind of a wide thing. So like you can get a blister on the back of your heel from an ill-fitting shoe. If your shoe don't fit, if your shoe does not fit properly, then you might move around like up and down in the back of the shoe, and that can cause some back of heel issues where you get like a blister or like just some friction back there that you really don't need. So a better fitting shoe back there can help. You can do like when you look at your shoes, there's usually like an extra eyelet that you can lace your shoelaces through, and that can sometimes help lock that heel in a little better. And then there is another trick. We call it the runner's knot. It's a little bit tricky to just talk about. So just go to YouTube and look up runner's knot. Do that if you feel like your heel's slipping out of the back of your shoe, and that should help lock you in. But that's from my perspective, back of heel issues. I know too, like Achilles stuff, you could get a heel lift to put in your shoe, but I'll let you talk about that a little bit more from your perspective.
All right. How much time do we have? Because heel pain is that's a 2-hour lecture right there.
It's a very broad issue, but do your best.
All right.
Man.
Well, I'm not sure what kind of answers the person is looking for, what the exact problem is, but here's the gist of it. Most people who go see a healthcare professional and they say they have heel pain, they automatically get diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. Not all heel pain is plantar fasciitis, okay? But that is one huge source of heel pain, especially with runners. So plantar fascia is the connective tissue on the bottom of the foot. Starts at the ball of the foot where the toes and metatarsals meet, and it kind of attaches to the like inside of your heel. So like the medial part of your heel. That typically has some pretty normal symptoms. Like you get out of bed, your first step, you're like, oh, that really hurts. And there's some soreness. And then after, 10, 20 steps, you're okay. If you sit too long, you get up and there's pain under there. So those are the common signs for it. But that's just one of many causes of heel pain. Another cause is Achilles tendon issues for sure, which we see. And there's like nerve impingement issues back there that most people don't consider. Like if you don't get diagnosed with plantar fasciitis when you go see your general practitioner, you're going to get diagnosed with Achilles tendonitis. It's like one of those two because they don't look much further. But you get this thing's called like tarsal tunnel syndrome because there's a tunnel there where vessels go through and it can be impinged. There's a thing called Baxter's neuropathy where you can get one branch of your calcaneal nerve just gets irritated, and that could be, if it's a really thin foot, that could be something with footwear. There could be just a poor fitting shoe, and there's a lot of friction and irritation that could be causing some irritation there, or it could be a structural thing. Either way, heel pain never really goes away very easily. It's something you want to get looked at and get a proper diagnosis. And to get a proper diagnosis, you want to see someone who sees a lot of feet, whether it's a podiatrist or chiropractor that actually does a lot of feet, or a therapist that does a lot of feet and runners. So I can't really get into it much more than get it looked at sooner than later because heel pain can last way too long.
Right. What do you have? What's next on your list there? I can't see.
Okay, I'm crossing off heel pain. Oh, the funny one about someone said they pull their hamstrings every time they do an ice bath.
Oh yeah, Hunter. He was this silly guy.
Was he serious? Is that like, does he get a tight hamstring after?
Yeah, I feel like it was a little jokey the way he wrote it. Like, oh, I get a pull my hamstring every time I get out of the ice bath and go for a sprint or whatever. I'm like, obviously.
Is that your Hunter impersonation?
Yeah, that's my Hunter impersonation.
That was good. That was good. We both know Hunter. That's a good impersonation. No. All right. Well,
right.
So, but there's a quick thing we can note to that. So if he was kind of serious, I know Hunter can be comical. When you go into an ice bath or do any sort of cold modality, you're vasoconstricting your blood vessels. So things get tight, things get a little stiff, they get numb, which is good. So there's a pain relief. But you never want to try to go and stretch or do something active right after you ice it. That's like the end of activity, end of day type of thing. So if he has some sort of strain going on and then he's constricting everything even more, he could feel some extra tightness in there. So Hunter, if that is the case, I would do like contrast baths where you do some ice, put some heat, go back to some ice, put some heat. I like that because you vasoconstrict, then you dilate, then you constrict, then you dilate, and you get blood in, get blood out, get blood in. Just like this flushing type of situation going on. I really like it. A lot of people find it beneficial.
I was going to say, that's what I do when I stay at hotels. I hop in the hot tub, then I jump in the pool, and then I hop back in the hot tub and I jump in the pool because it just feels good.
Right? Or if you're out skiing, like at the ski lodges, you have the outdoor hot tubs, and you got a big bank of snow right there. Get out, roll around in the snow, jump back in. Get out, roll around in the snow, jump back in.
There we go. It just feels so good.
It's awesome. It's really good. Cold plunge is good.
We have, what do we got? 1, 2, 3 more? Are there 3 more?
Well, I think we covered, so I had a couple of them that were like, how do you get back into running, which we talked about. And then one was specifically after plantar fasciitis, which, and I think that might have been the one, like, how do you know you're strong enough? So if I can just touch on that topic, it might be a little more general, but so you made a great point that you need to be able to walk a certain amount before you run, right?
Right.
And I used to tell my clients, you need to be able to jump. So even just simple hopping, like hopping up and down like this, like you're just jumping rope, you need to be able to tolerate that before you can run. Just running is basically hopping with one foot to the next, right? So there's, be able to walk 45 to 60 minutes straight, tolerate that fine for, quite a few sessions. Be able to hop, be able to do like a minute of hopping, 30 seconds off, a minute of hopping, 30 seconds off with 2 feet. So if you got the baseline of the walking, then you've got that resiliency of the two-legged hopping, then you can get into a walk run. So that's kind of a safer way. And specifically for plantar fasciitis, it's that the impact, like the plantar fascia is tight and irritated, and there's minor little tearing that's going on in there. And you got to build the resiliency of it. You don't necessarily have to wait for your pain to be totally gone to return to running with almost any injury. I hate saying that because most people will return way too soon. But there are some situations where we can return people with like a relative rest and a modified schedule. So that's kind of, I think I answered a little bit on the plantar fascia and a little bit on return to running. And the strength thing is that's just, you got to find out if you're weak or not, because weak runners get hurt. Typically when you get evaluated for any injury, if you got a weakness thing going on, we'll find it as therapists when we evaluate you, and we'll show you stuff to address it. And you want to make sure you get that addressed.
Gotcha. So it's not like walk before you run. It's walk before you jump
before you run.
Before you run.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Crawl before you walk, walk before you jump, jump before you run before you race, because running and racing are different, right? We talked about that last time.
Yep.
We can create a whole chain. We can do a little diagram.
You could draw it on the whiteboard.
I could, but I think we're going to run out of time.
All right, cool. Well, let's see the next one. So the next one I have on my list is a mental block.
Yeah.
Which is, again, kind of in this theme of like getting back into running, right? So like we've been off for like hard training, racing for like a year. We're kind of getting back into it. A lot of folks will get this kind of mental block where, they're getting back into it. You hit like some sort of wall where it's getting much harder to run and not feel bad, like not get sore or not get out of like lose your breath. And it can be tough mentally to get through that wall. What I do a lot of times is I have to like legit tell myself when I'm going through, say I'm out on a run and it's getting harder, I have to tell myself to stop thinking. I legit will be like, hey, Eric, don't think. Because I can get into my own head with this stuff. So like I use the don't think as like a mantra for myself to stop getting into my own head. Because I'll start thinking like, oh, I can't breathe very well. It's because I haven't trained and I'm not ready to do this, and my foot hurts and my knees achy and I'm a little bit sore So like, but then I have to get out of my head. So I just say, Eric, don't think, don't think. And I think a mantra of, it doesn't have to be that, but a good mantra can help. Ray and I talked about this on our podcast, I think last week or the week before. His mantra is enjoy this, enjoy the run.
Right.
Like I'm out here because I want to do it. I'm out here because I want to be healthy. Maybe I'm doing it for myself. Maybe I'm doing it for my family. You can mentally get through those hard sessions or hard sections of a run by just like chilling out, reminding yourself why you're doing this thing, and remembering to enjoy the fact that you're doing something good for yourself.
Right. It's all about the why. All about the why. Right.
All about the why.
Yeah.
And I find too when. Oh, sorry, you can go ahead, Mike. Oh, all right, I'll go ahead. So the another thing that I find, and I think we touched on it before, but basically, talking to other people about this stuff can be super helpful as well, because most every runner has gone through some sort of mental block or mental issue. So it's super important to, open up to other people. If you have an issue, you can always just type it in the comments section here and we'll talk through it, stuff like that.
We got your back. Yeah.
We got your back. We're here for you.
Yeah. I was actually going to mention something on that point where, mental blocks can be really tough to get over. Sometimes, if you're aware of your self-talk and, you got these negative thoughts going on in your head, it's great if you have that, the wherewithal and you're conscious of this and you can, get yourself on the right mindset. But a lot of people need help with that. And that's why there's like everything from, wellness coaches, meditation coaches, sports psychologists. Some people do need more help. And a lot of these mental blocks typically come with performance, that people plateau with their performance and they're training hard and training hard. And it could be a training issue. They could be overtraining, but they're not aware of that and they don't understand why they're not getting faster. And then they get, this mental block that happens from that. But I would encourage people definitely, get the support of your running group, your friends, communities like this, because we're all in this together. You can't do everything alone, but also don't be afraid to seek like more help, more from a coach or a professional, because like I can't do it myself. I'm fortunate that I got a wife who's a wellness coach and a meditation instructor, and if I'm in that mindset, she knows, she can even hear my voice when I'm in that negative mindset. She'll smack me out of it. I call it an ass kicking, but it's done from a loving place.
It's a little gentler than that. So that's your advice to people.
Sometimes.
Marry a wellness coach.
Marry someone smarter than you, and you're good.
Right. Well, Brian here has a tip. I saw he just commented. He said, "You are not your thoughts." You got to remember that.
So Brian there, a good friend of mine, triathlete, coach. He knows more than anyone. He's big into meditation. And I think Brian, BJ, we call him, had a quick thing about breath work, which I'm not as versed in. But yes, I used to poo-poo the breathing. I used to think, you breathe in, you breathe out. It's no big deal. And I was like this physical therapy scientist dude. But I teach almost all my patients how to breathe again. And then there's the breath work that can get tied in with the mindfulness and the meditation world. I'm not the expert to get into that, but it's extremely important. And that can be used to get over these mental blocks and these hurdles. It's all wrapped in your physical, your mental, your emotional. There's so many people out there that can help. That's why you got to reach out and don't try to fight this on your own.
Right. Yeah, Brian's so right. You work on the relationship with your thoughts. This guy knows what he's talking about. We got to get him out here.
Well, listen, the Yogi Triathlete podcast, I'm going to plug him. Him and his wife, they're they yoga, meditation. They've been doing triathlons for like 20 years. The Yogi Triathlete podcast. BJ just gave you a plug. Hopefully, people will jump on there. They know their shit when it comes to this. Ooh, I just swore.
Cool.
Sorry.
I know. Jeez Louise. We'll have to beep that out in post.
Censor.
Right. Maybe Lori here could tune in. She says she needs lots of help. So maybe tune into BJ's podcast. He might be able to help you out with that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Lori, give me a call. We can talk.
Right. So, all right. I think I got to wrap this up. I got
a patient. I got to fly.
All right. Cool, man. So, well, thank you for doing this. Thanks for everybody who submitted questions. And thank you to BJ for making some fantastic comments and also having a great podcast to tune into.
Yeah, he just sent the link in there.
Oh, look at that. Good stuff.
Yeah, right. Awesome. All right, I got to fly. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. We'll see you next week.
All right, man.